bringing to the stage our last liar for the day, official at least. And his name is Rich White. He is a storyteller from Blue Springs, Missouri. He has lied in Missouri, and he has lied in Kansas, and he has lied in Oklahoma, and now he's come to Texas just to see if it's true that things really are bigger in Texas. So with Aunt Eddie, please welcome Rich White.
There's no way you're going to take that bus back to Chicago. That's what my mother said when she found out that Aunt Eddie had ridden the midnight Greyhound from Chicago down to southern Illinois by herself. Now, the midnight Greyhound has always had more than its share of, shall we say, interesting passengers. Now, Aunt Eddie would have fit right in, but Mom decided I should drive Aunt Eddie back to Chicago. 16 years old, driving a 500-mile round trip on Route 66. I was excited. Till Aunt Eddie said, "Well, okay, but I'm a-driving, and we're taking the Illinois River Road." Now, the Illinois River Road is a scenic byway that roughly follows the Illinois River diagonally across the state up to Chicago. Just the kind of road that a 16-year-old boy wants to be riding on, you know? Well, we started out running right along the river. Then at some point, the road wound its way up to the top of the river bluff. We were just approaching a scenic overlook when Aunt Eddie hit a pothole and her leg flew out the window. Did I mention Aunt Eddie had a wooden leg? It didn't fit very well, so she'd put it up on the dash while she was driving. We watched as that wooden leg flew off a 500-foot cliff and went soaring down into the river valley. Till this magnificent bald eagle swooped in, snagged that leg right out of the air, and flew off to its nest in the top of a tree down by the river. Now, believe it or not, this is not the first time Aunt Eddie had misplaced her wooden leg. In fact, she carried a spare in her pocketbook. It was a little plastic fold-up job she got at a garage sale for $0.25. Now, walking on that spare leg was a lot like driving your car on one of those little donut spare tires, you know. You don't want to do it for too long. So we drove down off the river bluff, found this little dirt road running right along the river that went right by that 150-foot cottonwood tree with the eagle's nest in the top. And we could see Aunt Eddie's legs sticking out of that nest. Actually, it was pretty easy to spot because of the size 13 hot pink Converse high top on the end of that leg that just matched the one on Aunt Eddie's right foot. But how in the world are we going to get that thing down? I was more than a little surprised when Aunt Eddie took off her right arm and hurled it up at that eagle's nest. As that arm went by that nest, that spring-loaded hand glomped onto that hot pink high top, pulling the leg right out of the nest. And thus united, the arm and the leg started tumbling towards the ground, till the leg went on one side of a tree branch and the arm on the other. And there they hung, 137 feet off the ground, and Aunt Eddie fresh out of spare limbs to throw at it. Now, luckily, there was a squirrel lived in that tree, and that squirrel was real curious about that hot pink high top. While the squirrel was nosing around on that shoe, that squirrel's fuzzy tail was tickling that artificial hand. So much, the hand lost its grip, allowing the arm to fall to the ground, and freeing the leg and the squirrel to fall from the other side of the tree branch. It didn't look good for that poor little squirrel. Falling from 137 feet. But fortunately, it was a flying squirrel. Holding tightly to his hot pink high top, that squirrel spread his wings and managed to glide to a smooth, safe landing right in the middle of a beaver pond there in the marshes beside the river. Now, of course, being made of burley maple, that leg floated just fine. But that poor squirrel looked a little perplexed, sitting there on a wooden leg in the middle of a beaver pond, till he got an idea. That squirrel plopped down on his belly with 2 legs on each side of that wooden leg and paddling with all 4 feet. He maneuvered that leg right over to the middle of that beaver dam where the squirrel hopped off and hightailed it for the woods. Now you just know if Aunt Edie walks out on that dam to get her leg, something bad is bound to happen. And then I'm going to feel guilty. So I walked out on the dam, had just picked up Aunt Edie's leg when this humongous beaver crawled out on the dam between me and Aunt Edie. Now, a beaver is nothing more than a big fat rat with a big flat tail. But at that point in my life, I had no desire to tangle with a 75-pound rat while balancing on a beaver dam armed with just a wooden leg. So I turned and went the rest of the way across the dam, made my way through the brush, all the way around that beaver pond and back to Aunt Edie. Well, once Aunt Edie got her good leg back on, she said, "I'm beat. I think we better stop for the night." Well, next town we came to was Bath, Illinois. Population, 269. We stopped in at the Bath House, hotel, bait shop, and beauty parlor. Finest hotel in town. Well, yeah, it was the only hotel in town, but it was still the best. And wouldn't you know it, we had arrived during their 3-day busy season. The weekend of the Redneck Fishing Tournament. Now, for those of you not familiar with it, in this tournament, they run their boats up and down the river, and this gets the Asian carp to jumping out of the water. Those fish can jump up to 10 feet in the air. Then they take dip nets and catch the fish right out of the air. It's so popular that only one of the hotel's 5 rooms was even available. The bridal suite. But hey, it had twin beds and its own bathroom right there in the room. So we didn't even have to go outside or even down the hall when we needed to take a bath. Well, it came time to get ready for bed that night, and Aunt Edie went into the bathroom first. She came out wearing a Harley-Davidson do-rag on her head and carrying 2 glasses of water. I went into the bathroom. I found Aunt Edie's hair on the back of the toilet along with her unmentionables. I just brushed my teeth, came out, and jumped right into bed. Well, Aunt Edie got up, and she took off her leg and propped it side the chair and put her arm in the seat of the chair. And she took off her eyeglasses and put them on the bedside table. Next, she put her false teeth in one glass of water and her glass eye in the other. Took off her hearing aid and put it on the table, followed by her prosthetic ear. And then she took off her artificial nose and placed it on a carefully folded Kleenex, just in case it started running during the night, and she turned out the light. Well, I had some trouble getting sleep that night. I was trying to estimate the percentage of Aunt Edie that was scattered around the room compared to the part of Aunt Edie that was asleep over there in the other bed. I figure about 37%. Next morning, as we're leaving the hotel, we saw these boys playing marbles. Aunt Edie said, "Can I play?" Well, it turns out Aunt Edie had a real good eye for marbles. She popped that sucker out and used it as her shooter. And it's like she had a close-up view of every shot, and in no time, Aunt Edie had won all the marbles. We got on our way. We got to Aunt Edie's house, and she wanted to give me a little memento to remember the trip by. She decided to give me that special marble. She popped it out and handed it to me. She filled the empty hole with a big green cat's eye she had in her pocketbook. Now, that's a glass marble that's called a cat's eye, not a real cat's eye. Anyway, I still carry that marble with me. Aunt Eddie used to say, long as you carry that marble, I got my eye on you. And many a time, that was enough to keep me out of trouble. Thank you.